My name is Nolan, and this marks my very first video in a series on historical and genealogical research. I've done genealogical research for over 15 years now. Having started with my mother's side, which already had a pretty well-documented family tree before really digging into the paternal line, which brings me to today's topic, Aull Road out here in western Kentucky. So as anybody who has lived in the area or who has visited western Kentucky can tell you, it's one of the more historical Aull features, located in between Knoxville and Philpott, Kentucky. So obviously, as the genealogist for the Aulls, I really wanted to know, well, who was the Aull of Aull Road? And in my interviews with some immediate family, even some extended family and cousins, we weren't really actually sure who the original Aull could have been. So I started looking through my own family tree, some of my own records, and I didn't have anything particularly relevant to it. I had a number of Aulls who, of course, lived on Aull Road or in the Knoxville area, but nothing supremely concrete, no declaration or order establishing the name. So what I ended up doing was, in December of 2022, I filed an open records request with the Davis County Fiscal Courthouse for any documentation they had which could be related to Aull Road. So the goal was to trace any references, possibly from engineering and street records, Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, mining documents, land records, road improvements, or sanitation records. It was, admittedly, a very wide net, a rather open data request. And much to my surprise and satisfaction, one of their clerks did reach out to me that same day, actually, to help me focus that request, and they had actually been able to find a large number of relevant documentation. So we scheduled a time after the holidays for me to come out, February of 2023, just to go over and examine everything they had, which included a series of maps, mining documents, really great stuff. And so that's kind of where I began this journey, the first leg of the quest. So we have here a map that's dated 1998 for Aull Road survey from the Lanham Mining Company. So in 2003, dated here, we see the Kentucky United Coal Company had actually begun renovating the new Aull Road. So it was essentially a repaving, a regrading, and a bolstering of the road so that it could handle the sort of mining equipment, dump trucks, 10,000-pound loads, things of that nature. Further back, I was actually to find a number of these highway deeds, deed for highway purposes, that you can see here. And some of these were dated as far back as 1937 for Harry Aull, who is an important figure here later. Into the 1960s with Joseph Bernard Aull, who is my great-grandfather. And then his, I believe it's brother, Thomas Aaron Aull and Myrtle Aull. Thomas Aaron Aull, who is actually my great-granduncle and the brother of Joseph Bernard Aull, or granduncle and son. I can't quite recall, but I'll get back to that here in a moment. We have here Thomas Aaron Aull, who is actually my great-granduncle and the brother of Joseph Bernard Aull, my great-grandfather. And we have here another deed for highway purposes that's listed with Harry Aull, who is an important figure here later. So we know that Aulls have been living on what had not yet been called Aull Road into the 1960s. So that gave us a little bit of a window for where the declaration could have actually come from. Or I should say when the declaration could have actually been made. However, about 2 weeks after I had wrapped up and came back to Lexington to kind of parse over everything I'd been able to go over, the same clerk reached out to me via the email attached here. And she had actually reached out to somebody at the Davis County Public Library's Kentucky room, which houses a number of historical documents, genealogical records, marriage licenses. It's actually the room where I kind of began my career as a genealogist way back in, I think it was 2006, 2007. It's got this incredible pool of resources, really amazing staff. Huge shout out to the Davis County Public Library. So they were able to attach to this scanned map, which shows Aull Road listed as Harry Aull Road. Now, from earlier, you saw the signature for Harry Aull. That was Michael Xavier Harry Aull, my first cousin 4 times removed, and the father of Joseph Jack Harry Aull, my second cousin 3 times removed. I believe that that same son, that Harry Aull, Joseph Jack Harry Aull, is the namesake for Aull Road, or Harry Aull Road, as it was known. Now, who is Harry Aull? Harry Aull was born in April 23rd, 1925. He was born in Knoxville, Kentucky, and he died July 30th, 1945, at the age of 20 in the Layette Islands. I was able to find that information here on a genealogical site and back that up through further research into my own family tree, and indeed, that did bear out. I also found him listed in the census, 1940 census. We have Harry Aull, his father, and then we have Joseph Harry, the son, 15, living in the house at the time. Now, all of this is important because that death date, he was the same date. Now, that date, July 30th, 1945, was the date that Harry Aull was officially listed as missing in action, the same date that the USS Indianapolis that he was stationed on was sunk by Japanese torpedo. Having 2 weeks prior delivered its surplus of uranium, which would then be used in the little boy atomic bombing of Hiroshima, Japan, which is in itself a really interesting story, a rabbit hole that I'd like to kind of go down in another video. But it was the single most catastrophic naval attack in U.S. history. Over 800 lives lost, several hundred of those bodies had never been recovered. In fact, it was actually 4 days after the torpedo attack and the sinking of the USS Indianapolis before rescuers would arrive and begin pulling men out from the surrounding ocean. So some 900 men survived the torpedo attack and sinking, only for around 300 to be pulled to safety 4 days later. Joseph Jack Harry Aull died on July 30th, 1945, likely as an immediate result of the sinking of the USS Indianapolis by Japanese torpedo. Although it would be 4 days before rescue vessels would arrive to begin hauling some 300 men from the ocean, over 900 were presumed lost at sea, either to shark, dehydration, or exhaustion. I was actually able to find a photo of the death slates listed in Manila, the Philippines, where indeed Joseph Harry Aull, Seaman Second Class, from Kentucky, is listed. I have yet to find any photographs of Joseph Harry Aull himself, although we were able to pinpoint this obituary here. I am still currently looking for additional photo verification of Joseph Jack Harry Aull. Again, 1925-1945. Fascinating story. So we know, and well, at least we can pretty strongly conclude from the attached Harry Aull Road map from the genealogy room, the Kentucky room of the Davis County Public Library, this is most likely the Aull of Aull Road. So I would like to give a moment of silence for Joseph Jack Harry Aull. And I just think that that's another interesting connection to both the land, the community, to Kentucky history, to American history. And it is something that going in, I had no idea. It's one of those fascinating parts of genealogy that you sort of, you never really know what you're going to find. You never know where leads are going to take you. So, yeah, that's it.